Welcome to Cosmic Diaries. This is Priya Kali, your astrologer, and welcome to a whole new week in this cosmos. We're looking at the astrology for the week of June 13th to June 19th. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, as we enter this week now, Pluto is back in Capricorn and will be in Capricorn until January 20th, 2024. Mercury is newly in Gemini, opening up communication, and we're past the last quarter of the moon, moving to the Gemini new moon at the end of the week on June 18th. And there are major aspects taking place around the new moon in Gemini, opening up a whole new world of possibilities, allowing us to reshape our future and foreseeable future with our choices. So this week really brings a chance to weigh out our options as we move inward to reconnect with an inner truth. So this week, we're moving through the waning cycle, and it's a time to release ideas, thoughts, perceptions, beliefs that prevent our progress, to really move inward and to realign with an inner truth. Also, at the end of the week, Saturn stations retrograde on the 17th of June, just a day before the new moon. So we're reflecting on our limits and our boundaries this week, and it's time to really clarify our goals. Then we can make adjustments moving ahead. Also, I want to talk a little bit about Pluto being back in Capricorn. Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, and since then, Pluto's process is a very slow, gradual, alchemical process that works unconsciously, subconsciously, and in the shadows. Since 2008, we've been in a process collectively, globally, as well as on an individual level, of slowly dismantling patriarchal conditioning and reclaiming our power and authority in our lives to shape our lives and live our lives in alignment with our integrity and humanity. Pluto entered Aquarius on the 23rd of March, and since the 23rd of March to the 11th of June, Pluto's transit has given us a glimpse into this new world that we're collectively creating, as well as individually creating, and the possibilities that are available to us. With Pluto moving back into Capricorn, this is a chance to really dismantle old conditioning and what's done and dusted, but taking up space so we can create more space for the future, as well as to fortify our foundations before we enter a new chapter and new world in January next year. So we'll be back at this point or this juncture in our journey around January next year. So take a good look at where you're at right now. Look at what needs to be cleared out, where you need to create space, and what needs to change within and around you. You've been through this process of transformation since 2008. Now you're at the end of a process of transformation. So it's really a chance to let go of the darker subconscious conditioning that prevents your progress, especially in the area of your life ruled by Capricorn in your chart. Especially given Saturn is about to station retrograde at the end of the week, Saturn being the ruler of Capricorn, we are kind of in the coming weeks recovering old ground in some sense. But Venus and Mars are in Leo, and Venus will be moving retrograde next month, and Venus enters shadow actually at the end of the week. So this is a chance to rewrite history in a way, or at least write this new chapter consciously, which means staying in the present and embodying all the lessons we've learned over the past year, but releasing anything that weighs us down so we can live more fully in the present and create a more abundant reality. So with that, let's dive into the week. There are fewer aspects between the planets this week. There's a stillness in the air, and there's a sense of time standing still. But the moon is making plenty of aspects, and which means that we're still pretty busy, and emotionally there's a lot stirring within us, but at least there's a chance for us to focus on what needs our attention rather than feeling like we're being pulled in many different directions. On Monday and Tuesday, that's the 12th and the 13th of June, the moon is moving through Aries and making a series of aspects to Mars, the Sun, and Pluto in Capricorn. The moon will also make a conjunction to Chiron later on Monday evening. So, with the moon in Aries, we're getting a fiery start to the week and a head start on whatever needs to be taken care of. At best, this is great energy to just really focus on what needs to be done and get it done. On an emotional level, because the moon does represent our innermost needs and emotions, pay attention to if there are any abandonment issues arising, any trust issues arising, any fear that's arising, and to release it consciously and to stay in the present moment. Mars, the ruler of Aries, is currently in Leo, which is asking us to stay in the present. And we're moving through the waning moon cycle. So this is a chance to release any past trauma or pain that might be surfacing, so we can look at situations and respond to situations more clearly as we are today in the present moment. And in the same vein, look at what's motivating you on these couple of days. With the moon making easy aspects on Monday, for the most part, everything's moving according to plan. But still, the sun is in Gemini, and so there's a need for awareness in terms of what it is that's motivating you. Are you being motivated by passion or by a sense of fear or any other negative emotion, in which case it may be a chance to really just pause and find your center again, reconnect with yourself. Then you can make better choices, more creative and conscious choices moving ahead, rather than just reacting to situations and circumstances and replaying old patterns. And this is especially true because on the 13th, the moon will square Pluto, moon in Aries will square Pluto, and then go void for a few minutes before it enters Taurus at 2:32. So the square to Pluto is at 2:27 p.m. in New York. This square to Pluto is the first square to Pluto since Pluto has returned to Capricorn. Look at how you've evolved over the past few months even. And look at what within you needs to evolve and change, and what you're burning and letting go and releasing in the past. So there can be a renewal and resurrection here. And this is a moment of growth, inner growth and maturity. And in a sense, reclaiming our power and innocence even. We needn't be naive. We've learned a lot and grown a lot, but there's still that need to approach the world with that childlike curiosity. Then we can scale and move mountains if need be. Then on the 13th, 14th, and 15th of June, the moon is moving through Taurus. And the moon is exalted in Taurus. So these days should be a good time to really start feeling more grounded. But with that said, a lot has come up in the past couple of weeks. A lot has shifted. So this is a chance to really get centered and look around you and look at what needs to be released now, because we're heading to this new moon in Gemini in just a few days. This is a chance to clear space, let go of physical clutter, as well as to reevaluate important situations in your life and reevaluate what matters. So you can clear your plate and focus your energy where it needs to be focused. Taurus is a very hardworking sign. Taurus is also a very sensual sign. You can really gather momentum and make progress through this energy. But also listen to your body, eat nourishing food, take walks in nature by the water, and really dig deep as you reevaluate your life and your relationships and what you really value in life. Then the rest can be let go of. So on the 13th of June, the moon enters Taurus, then will conjunct Jupiter overnight on the 14th and sextile Saturn overnight on the 14th. And then on the 14th morning, early it squares Venus, later in the day squares Mars. So the 14th is definitely, there's a lot happening, there's a lot shifting, there's a lot moving. Things are stabilizing, but move through this process of reevaluation consciously. All that glitters isn't gold, and all that is gold does not glitter. We're going to have to look at all sides of a situation and then make conscious choices in alignment with our values. Also, our choices are creating our reality. So recognize what you are creating in this present moment. and the patterns that you're leaving behind on an emotional level as well as on a tangible material level. Because we're moving to an important aspect on the 15th when the moon will conjunct Uranus early in the morning, pushing us out of our comfort zone. There may be unexpected developments unfolding, or we're coming to important realizations, unexpected sudden realizations. If you're feeling shaken up, then be patient as the dust settles. But at best, this is very creative, innovative energy asking us to think outside the box. That said, Mercury is moving to a square that afternoon with Saturn, and we're feeling pretty pensive, so we're weighing out our options and important choices. And this is significant. This is a defining moment, and we're turning a significant corner. Also, very notably, Saturn is now stationary and about to station retrograde on the 17th of June. So let's talk about this for a minute, because Mercury is newly in Gemini. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and this is the sign and planet of communication, of thoughts, of our ideas, beliefs, of our perceptions, and of duality. So this is very mental energy. And at best, with Mercury and Gemini, our communication is certainly opening up. But with this square to Saturn, Saturn is the planet of limits and boundaries, and Saturn is now stationary. So we're reflecting on our limits, and there's a need now for inner resilience because we're working something out within ourselves. Look at where you have Gemini in your chart, and look at your thoughts and beliefs in that area of your life. And then look at where you have Pisces in your chart, and look at where you've perhaps perceive your limits to be. And now with the square to Saturn, there's a need for maturity when it comes to communication. But first, it's important that we know our inner limits and boundaries and limitations even, and perhaps the thought patterns that we need to grow out of, or beliefs that we need to evolve from. Because something that you've seen as an obstacle is no longer an obstacle, and there is a way around it. But you have to believe that it's possible. Otherwise, you won't even try opening that door. So it's like you see a door that's shut, but it's not locked. And all that's needed is to perhaps try turning the knob, or perhaps checking and seeing that you actually already have a key to the door. So those are, of course, analogies, but there's a similar process underway where, we've been trying to understand something, and there is a way around something now. Maybe it's communication, maybe it's a mental block, or maybe there are important negotiations that need to happen now. With the moon in Taurus, we're likely focused on our relationships and on our finances and on our values. So stay grounded in your values, and then recognize everything is negotiable. Recognize the value of what you bring to the table and what is being offered, and be as transparent and honest as you can with yourself. Then you can communicate honestly with others and find common ground with others. Nothing needs to be as hard as you're perhaps perceiving it to be. And after moving through this, perhaps whether it's a difficult conversation or a difficult decision you've been wrestling with within yourself, June 15th really brings that sense of having turned a corner within ourselves towards a goal or something that we've dreamed of. Saturn entered Pisces on the 7th of March, and last week, a couple of weeks ago, the Sun was square Saturn. Now Mercury is following in the footsteps of the Sun. So this is a continuation of a process leading us into this next chapter of our lives. Relationships can deepen now. There is a lot of tangible potential here in our relationships. And tomorrow, on the 17th, Venus will be entering shadow. Venus is the planet of our relationships. So relationships are certainly highlighted and taking center stage over the coming weeks. And Venus will be in Leo until October. That's a long time. That's 4 months of Venus in Leo. And while Leo is a very passionate sign and Venus loves being in Leo, and this can be very dramatic and fun, spontaneous, romantic energy, But with Venus soon to move retrograde and the current aspects, the energy is certainly tempered. We are really thinking about things very carefully, reevaluating important life choices. Also realize that in any relationship, eventually at some point there will be conflict. What matters is how we're able to deal with that conflict and approach that conflict and work through it and communicate through it. This requires a willingness of both people to want to find a way forward and a willingness to really listen to what someone else is saying so we can find solutions and common ground and middle ground. And if there is any tension, or if there are those difficult conversations that need to be had, then a square is always a chance to find that inner resolution. So rather than projecting the energy outward. So anything you perceive to have been an obstacle or a mountain before, there's a way around it, is what I'm trying to say. It's a mind shift, and it's how we see things, really. So think win-win, look for solutions, and you will find them. Especially because after the Mercury square to Saturn, later that evening the moon will be sextile Neptune, and then it trines Pluto on the 15th of June at 9:37 p.m. and goes void for a few minutes before it enters Gemini at 9:46 p.m. With the moon making harmonious aspects of this Mercury-Saturn square, it just reinforces what I'm trying to say, which is something you've been expecting to be difficult, or perhaps even a difficult conversation, need not be that difficult. It can be surprisingly easy. And we might even be celebrating that evening, or at least settling down and unwinding and reflecting on all the potential and all the changes that have been unfolding recently within you and around you in your life. So really take time, whatever's unfolding on the surface, take time on the evening of the 15th to really just slow down, get grounded in your present reality and the people and things you value. Then the moon enters Gemini late on the 15th at 9:46 p.m. And now we're moving to the deep waning phase of the moon, to the new moon on the 18th of June at 12:37 a.m., just after midnight. And there are a few aspects there's a lot happening before then. So 15th and 16th, the moon continues through Gemini. And on the 16th morning at 11:20 a.m., it'll square Saturn. Then it meets Mercury at 3:13 p.m. And then it will sextile Venus make a harmonious aspect to Venus at 4:58 p.m. So through the morning and afternoon of the 16th, the moon is moving through Gemini. This energy is mercurial, and as the moon squares Saturn meets Mercury, it's triggering the Mercury-Saturn square from the previous day. So things that were surfacing then, conversations that were surfacing then, or perhaps ideas and information that was surfacing then, we're now sifting through it and understanding it on a deeper level. We're understanding our choices and our options, and we're coming to important realizations and decisions. Meditation will help in terms of just finding clarity on your choices, and also recognize that there is no right or wrong choice ultimately. What matters is your integrity, and that you're being true to yourself and choosing in your most optimistic vision, in faith. Because later that evening on the 16th, the moon will be sextile Venus, which is a really harmonious aspect. So when it comes to relationships, as well as any matters of love and money and creativity, this is very creative energy and loving energy, and allows for open communication, heart-to-heart communication. So if we've been doing the work over the past couple of days of being really honest with ourselves, then this is our reward for that honesty. And there can be a real sense of lightheartedness. With Venus in Leo, what's important now is that we're letting go of the ego and pride and defenses. And with the moon in Gemini, especially in this deep waning cycle, it's important that we're letting go of the past and of old memories, especially any painful memories. That said, it could be very easy to, only look at what's good and forget about the bad. And With Venus in Leo, we're being asked, this really is a chance to stay in the present and be honest with yourself about who you are today, and then make choices and communicate honestly from that place so you can create something new for the future. We can't change the past is past. But the aspects suggest that this is a chance to rewrite an old story, and or at least create a new story moving ahead, or write a new chapter in a story as we move ahead, because ultimately all of life is one long unfolding story, and we live, we learn, we grow, and nothing happens in a vacuum. So with Saturn now moving to station retrograde on the 17th, and as we move through this deep waning cycle of the moon in Gemini, and the moon meets Venus, keep an open heart. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, and it will take courage, but also be willing to let go of the past and those painful beliefs or memories or thoughts that prevent you from recognizing all that's precious and valuable and blossoming within you and around you. Because on the same evening, and this is also very creative energy, so if for creative writing, financially, there's lucrative opportunities arising. Mercury is making a minor aspect to Neptune, so this is very imaginative energy and very even loving and romantic, allowing us to really express ourselves deeply and find words that might otherwise not be easy to say. So make the most of it. Then on the 17th of June, we're in the deep balsamic phase of the moon. At about 4:14 a.m., the moon sextiles Mars, which is a harmonious aspect. And then Mercury, the planet of communication, will make a sweet sextile to Venus, the planet of love and creativity and beauty in our relationships, deepening realizations. It's a great time for honest, open communication, whether it's about your finances or your personal relationships, or if you've been working on creative projects. This is really creative energy. What matters is that you're enjoying what's unfolding, because Saturn is also stationary now, and stations retrograde at 1:27 p.m. So this is the first time Saturn will be retrograde since it entered Pisces. And there's a stillness in the air, and we're certainly pausing to reflect on our goals and our boundaries, and we're looking at where we need to make adjustments and perhaps where we need to lower our guard a little so we can allow in more of the opportunities and abundance and love and happiness that surrounds us. And doors that were previously shut may now be opening up. So move slowly as you navigate through this day. And given that we are in this deep waning cycle of the moon, the most important thing now is that we're letting go of our beliefs and perceptions of how we think things are or how we think things should be. And to really look at reality as it stands, and to dare to imagine a more brighter, hopeful future for ourselves. This means finding this idealistic vision that you have within yourself as well, and then letting go of your own beliefs of how something should play out or how something should be. Ultimately, what any one of us want, anything we want because we think it will make us happy. There's a chance to let go of a weight that we've been carrying and illusion that have prevented and blocked our progress. We're recognizing that there's a lot more depth within us and within situations, and there's a lot more depth of even love and pool of creativity and resources that are available to us. Your imagination is the limit, because now Pluto is also retrograde in Capricorn, which is Saturn's sign. So it's letting go of these old illusions and conditioning that limits us from really manifesting our potential or manifesting our dreams. As the new moon aligns in Gemini, it's a whole new cycle, and this new moon, is seeded by these aspects of the Mercury sextile Venus Saturn retrograde, but also the new moon will square Neptune, and that's another very profoundly expansive aspect. But it will require that we're very centered and we have deep clarity within ourselves, and we're staying connected with an inner truth. Because otherwise, it could be easy to project our worst fears onto situations, or then to project fantasies onto situations and then feel disappointed. If anything, we're learning the power of the mind now to create our reality. Stay focused on an inner vision and an inner truth, and then trust that will guide you as you move ahead. Also on the 19th, seeding the energy of this new moon in Gemini square Neptune, Venus enters shadow phase in Leo, and Jupiter, the planet of expansion, will sextile Saturn, the planet of our limitations and boundaries. And Saturn is now, of course, newly retrograde. This is a lot, but let's start with Venus in Leo and entering shadow phase. Venus is the planet that speaks of our relationships, of love, of beauty, and of course, money, of values, of our creativity, and all matters that are close to our heart. Pay attention to what's unfolding, the conversations you're having, the energy you're seeding, or rather the ideas and thoughts that are being seeded now, because this is the beginning of a larger story and narrative that's going to play out all through the summer into October. Venus stations retrograde about every 18 months. As she does, we're entering deeper into our hearts for an introspective look at what we want, what we desire, what we love, what we value, and our own creative sexual energy. The retrograde takes place on the 22nd of July. Venus will return to this degree of the zodiac where she's at on the 19th of June. Back again later on the 3rd of September when she stations direct. So things that are coming to the surface now, we will be revisiting these conversations and reevaluating these situations again in September, on the 3rd of September, and then moving ahead into October. So whatever's unfolding, first of all, pay attention, but also keep the big picture in mind. It's an evolving story, and this is a part of a larger conversation and larger story that's yet to play out. We can't know now what we will know then. So the best thing we can do with Venus in Leo is to be true to ourselves, and the new moon in Gemini is to be true to ourselves and our hearts, and stay in the present moment and respond in the present moment as you are today, as you feel about things today, and recognize that there's always room for you to grow, and there will be a lot of growth that's coming up. At best, this energy is playful, childlike, curious, flirtatious, romantic, and even lucrative in your relationships, especially personal relationships, whether in an existing connection or a new connection. This is a new chance to discover sides to yourself and to others that you haven't seen before, perhaps, sparking love and new creativity and desires and ideas and conversations that can open up a whole new world of potential and possibilities. In existing connections, we're discovering there's so much more potential than we've even known before. And we could be meeting new people now who have a lot to offer us. But especially when you're meeting someone new at this time, move slowly as you get to know someone. And even in existing relationships, this is a chance to discover and connect on a deeper level as we drop the mask and really reveal our true selves. What's important is that we're staying open-hearted and open-minded as we enter this cycle, because there's plenty here to be excited and hopeful about. A lot has happened, but this is a new cycle and chance to create a new reality. Even when it comes to money, look at your relationship with money. Be honest with yourself about your values. Then you can make important choices and invest your time, energy, money, love, resources, whatever it is, wisely. Creative energy, but there's a need for absolute authenticity to drop the mask and drop the ego and to drop our pride and defenses and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and lead with the heart. It's important that we're reaching for our most optimistic vision because Venus is the ruler of Jupiter, who's currently in Taurus, and Jupiter is traveling close to the North Node, so our relationships are certainly drawing us to our destiny. Of all the planets, Venus is a planet that, as she stations retrograde, she creates this star pattern in the sky. And you can Google this and look it up, like Venus's retrograde orbit, and you'll see. She creates this beautiful star pattern in the sky, but with that, what happens is every 8 years, Venus stations retrograde in the same area of the zodiac. And so every 8 years, we see a recurrence of themes that have played out in our lives. Of course, no two moments are alike, and you aren't who you were yesterday, let alone a few years ago or 8 years ago. In looking back, depending on how old you are, the last time Venus was retrograde in Leo was 2015. Before that was 2007. Before that was 1999. And then before that would have been 1991, and so on and so forth. Go back every 8-year cycles in your life, you're likely to see a larger story emerge. So you can see what you might expect over the coming months as we move through the summer and into October. Or if you're in Australia, then as you move through the winter into the fall. Winter into the spring. I'm so confused. But this is a story that's beginning now, and there's a lot of love here. There's a lot of excitement and fun and golden opportunities beckoning us. And we have important choices to make as this Gemini New Moon aligns that will shape the course of our destiny and foreseeable future. Stay in the present and keep your channels of communication open and keep an open mind and keep a conversation going rather than think you know everything about something. Be curious, ask questions. Then you can learn what you need to know, allowing you to make informed choices in alignment with your values. And relationships certainly have a lot to offer us. It's just a matter of embodying all the lessons we've learned over the past year and 8 years even, so we can make choices with discernment and shape our lives consciously, creatively, lovingly, rather than have our walls up and be defensive because we've been hurt in the past. You can handle this. This is a challenge we can rise to. Also on the 19th, another major aspect developing is the Jupiter sextile Saturn aspect. And this is big, this is huge, this is a very stabilizing aspect, and there's a sense of real optimism in the air, or at best we're feeling cautiously optimistic, and we have every reason to feel so. At best, hopefully, we're seeing the potential and being open to new horizons, and maybe there's a bridge that's now available to us to get to a place where we previously couldn't go to. So stay open-minded as you enter this new cycle and dare to expand your vision of what's possible. There is real support here, and there's a real sense of having material support, emotional support, as well as people on hand who can offer practical advice and through their experiences as well. So there's every reason to feel optimistic about what's coming up in this new cycle. And I'll definitely have a lot more to say to you about that next week. But realize that we are shaping our reality now with our thoughts, words, and deeds. We are in Gemini season, the sign of duality. And it's only the extremes in life that really teach us the value of the opposite. But at best, this is a chance to really move inward, to silence the mind, to allow ourselves to reconnect with that inner silence and inner truth within, and let that guide us as we move ahead. Then that new moon is opening us up to a whole new world of potential, possibilities, deepening our connections, and opening up our world in ways that we couldn't have imagined. For now, as you move through this week, just really let go of the perceptions and beliefs and ideas and communication patterns and thought patterns that prevent you from making progress, and empty the mind and silence the mind and move inward to find your inner strength and inner sense of authority, and give yourself permission to live the life that you really want to live. And that will mean making some adjustments and making some real changes in your life. But ultimately, you are creating space for a new life that you've already started to see and that you're envisioning. So have faith in the journey and be gentle with yourself and others as you navigate through this week, because there's a lot of love here for all of us in our connections and from the universe. Saturn's retrograde station in Pisces is really a chance for us to find that inner sense of compassion and kindness and gentleness within, because our challenges in life and our difficulties in life are ultimately meant to soften us, not harden us. And this week there's a chance to find grace, to find forgiveness, and to find release, and to let go of the past so we can heal the past. This starts with forgiving yourself for the past or any mistakes that you think you might have made. As long as we've learned from something, that's what's important. Then we can extend that grace and forgiveness to others in our world. Whether or not they deserve it is not our place to judge. It's more an unburdening and lightening of our own load as we move ahead on our journey. And really, this new moon is offering us a clean slate if we want it. Then we can create and write a new chapter and make new choices, conscious choices, moving ahead, given everything we've learned. The past doesn't exist, and neither does the future. And sometimes we couldn't have learned our lessons in any other way. Really, there's no way of knowing. So the best we can do is embody the lessons we've learned, but release a burden so we can open our arms to the future. A quick recap of the week, although I've gone on already, but the week, begins with the moon in Aries, and we're feeling passionate, inspired, but also take time to reflect on what it is that's driving you as you move through the 12th and the 13th of June, and consciously release any fear, anger, pain, resentment, and painful emotions, or any trust or abandonment issues. Be curious, ask questions, and reconnect with yourself to find an inner truth, and allow that to guide you. And also recognize what you need to let go of and change so you can evolve as you grow, given everything you've learned in the past few months. Then the 13th, 14th, 15th of June, moon is moving through Taurus. It's time to get grounded in our values, to clear clutter, mental clutter, emotional clutter, baggage, physical clutter, as well as, we're focused on our relationships and money matters as well. And there can be a real sense of making progress and shifting, reaching a real shift and turning a corner. Because on the 15th, Mercury will square Saturn, encouraging us to reflect on our limits, but to not project obstacles, because there is a way around something that you've perhaps perceived to be an obstacle for a long time, but you're finally equipped to deal with it. And if you can be open to solutions, and you can find your way around something. And in this, there may be a sense of having to come to difficult decisions within yourself as well. But give yourself permission to be happy, because really that's all it is. And give yourself permission to live your life on your terms. Then on the 16th, and so 15th, the moon continues to move through Taurus, stay grounded. Late 15th, the moon enters Gemini. On the 16th, the moon continues to move through Gemini. We're in the deep waning cycle of the moon. Time to let go of old beliefs and ideas and clear mental baggage. 16th, the moon continues to move through Gemini, triggering The Mercury-Saturn square connecting with Venus, bringing us to a turning point in our relationships, creative matters, situations, as well as within ourselves. We're making important decisions. 17th brings a harmonious trine sextile between Mercury and Venus, opening up heart-to-heart communication as well. Saturn stations retrograde also on the 17th of June, asking us to reflect on our boundaries and our limits and where we perhaps need to lower our guard a little and to let go of our ideas of how we think things should be. Then we can start to appreciate how things are and recognize the deeper potential in the present. 18th brings the new moon in Gemini, and the new moon will be square Neptune. So this is a very visionary new cycle, and we have huge choices to make. Our world is opening up because on the 19th, Jupiter will sextile Saturn. So there are huge new opportunities arising, and we're facing choices that will shape the course of our foreseeable future. We've been weighing out a lot of choices over the past week, and now stay connected with that inner truth so you can make conscious, creative choices. There is no wrong choice. Life is a journey. As long as you can be philosophical and reach for your most optimistic vision and your ideals, integrity, and your noblest goals, you'll find the support and the resources and the help and the ideas and whatever it is that you do need to materialize a vision that you see in your mind's eye now. To materialize a vision that you see in your mind's eye now. So as the new moon aligns, move inward to find clarity on that vision, reconnect with that inner truth, and then have faith as you move into the new cycle in your power to create your reality with your conscious choices and the power of your mind, words, and thoughts to bridge what has previously felt like a huge gap or abyss. Okay, so I've gone on forever. It is Gemini season, but I'm going to stop there for now. And if you want a deeper look at your chart and the current transits and how this is all playing out for you, please do email me at priya@cosmicdiaries.com and we can schedule a consultation, or you can visit my website. There is a sale on my Inner Journey program, which is a 12-month course. We follow the sun's transit through the zodiac and through your chart as it moves through a sign, through monthly sessions, one-on-one sessions. And this is it's an immersive into your natal chart. So if you've been wanting to dive deeper into your chart and your inner journey of your soul's growth and learn the seasons of your life, now is a good time to do it. So yeah, there's a sale on Inner Journey until the end of the month, end of June, 30th of June. So you can take a look at that on the website or just book a single consultation. And I'll be back with you with more next week. But thank you as always for listening. I hope you found this useful, and I'll be back with you very soon. Bye for now. Namaste.